Okay. Welcome to the meeting of the Planning and Regulation Committee. The agenda, papers and other relevant information for this meeting are available for the public community from the Herefordshire Council website. Please remember your words and actions should be chosen carefully, and members are reminded that speeches are limited to 3 minutes. Council is streaming this meeting on the live Council YouTube channel and are also making a recording. The recording will be available via the Council's website shortly after the meeting has concluded. Other attendees are permitted to film, photograph the meeting, provided it does not disrupt the business of the meeting. If you do not wish to be filmed or photographed, please identify yourself so that anyone who intends to record the meeting can be made aware. Let's move on. Quality is maintained. Could members speak as clearly as possible and keep background noise to a minimum, that it ensures that the mobile phones and other devices are turned to silent. Welcome to those in the front. I now ask Kelly Gibbons, who is the Attorney Officer.
Good morning, this morning, I'm Kelly Gibbons. I am the Private Manager. It's a new job. To my next, we have to do Kelly, who's providing legal advice for today. To my right, I have a resolve, he is presenting item 6. There are plenty going to be related highway influences. Terry Smart will be doing that to present item 7, and Alison Murray will be doing this present item 8.
We'll move on to apologies for absence. We have received apologies from councillors Andrews and Foster. Are there no other apologies? I think we're all here. A name substitute, item 2. Councillor Stark is acting as substitute for Councillor Andrews, and Councillor Hitchener is acting as substitute for Councillor Foster. Item 3, declarations of interest. Please indicate if you wish to declare an interest, and I will then read Councillor. Are there any declarations of interest? We'll come now on to the minutes, item 4, the minutes of the meeting held on the 27th of September 2023. Please just note that there is a minor comment. But paragraph 34, the minutes should report that the vote was carried by a simple majority, not unanimously. Minutes of the other minutes of the meeting on the 22nd of September, subject to the questions outlined are approved. Please, and those members raise their hand. Those for. Any against? Any abstention? Yeah. Abstentions are absolute. Right, we'll now move on to I have no chairman's announced this particular point. Can I now I've mentioned the fact that we don't have a voice enhancement system in the meeting, but so please be as clearly as possible. Can I now, for the first application, request that the public speakers present in person for agenda item 6 join the meeting? Mr. Lloyd, Ms. Churchill, Mr. Whitehorn, and Mr. White, please take your seats in front of the participation. Good morning, and welcome to the meeting, and we'll call you to speak when the officer presentation is taking place. Item 6. The application before us concerns land at Flagnotes, Breeden, south of the A44, west of Painter's Lane, east of Chapinbury, and north of Hennigan Lane, Bromley, Herefordshire. I now ask Mr. Ollie Jones, the case officer, to make the presentation. Thank you, Chair. for the presentation. Good morning, members. Thanks for those who visited the site yesterday afternoon. And just to feedback, everything might have if anyone had any difficulty hearing that, please shout up and I'll be able to get this better. So to start, as a legal matter, I just refer members to the update sheet. Additional representation has been received, which is summarised. An officer response is provided to this as set out. And additionally, the wording of the recommendation has been amended, and that just permits the word to be read so that we use properly. Members and officers have also received a briefing note from the applicant. It is not considered to include any additional issues that have not already been covered within the report. We noted that the application straddles two wards, those being Bromyard West, which is represented by Councillor Davis, and Bishop Froome and Bradley, which is represented by Councillor Chant. So as the Chair has set out, the application is made in outline, with all matters reserved are access, the erection of up to 120 dwellings, together with public open space, landscaping and sustainable drainage. The proposal includes highway works, which includes reconfiguration of the A44 to provide the formation of a vehicular access, along with pedestrian connectivity. Works to enable pedestrian connectivity from the southeastern corner of the site and along Panniers Lane are also proposed. The development would look to provide a range of house types with 40% affordable provision, along with a range of other Section 106 contributions. So the application site is located by the red star on the slide. Next slide, please. So this shows the site in slightly closer detail. Forms approximately 4.7 hectares of agricultural land, which sits to the western edge of Bromyard, bound to the north by the A44, which links Bromyard with Lennox to the west and Worcester to the east. The west of the site is bound by a mature hedgerow boundary with open countryside beyond. Eastern boundary is delineated by the rear of residential properties along Panniers Lane. Southern boundary, again principally by hedgerow boundaries along Penkham Lane. Penkham Lane and Minor Road linking Bromyard with Penkham to the west. The site is not subject to any national landscape designations, and the agricultural land classification is Grade 2. The site is also situated within the hydrological catchment of the River Lug, and that forms part of the River Wye Professional Area of Conservation. Next slide, please. We show the site location plan. It also includes the land required for the highway works, both along the A44 to the north, and then Panniers Lane along the east. Please. So, as I've set out, whilst the application is made in outline with all matters reserved access, an illustrative site framework plan has been provided by the applicant, and it demonstrates the manner in which the site could be developed, taking into account the specific constraints of the site. The plan also illustrates how the site could be apportioned for the development. So in terms of where the residential element would be, with open space and sustainable drainage features located to the south and west. And again, it shows points of access, both vehicular and pedestrian. So we will touch upon the details of that shortly, but it solely illustrates the location of the access points. You can see the sole vehicular access being taken from the A44 to the north of the site. And then again, the pedestrian footway connection to the southeast corner of the site, close to the junction with Panniers Lane and Penkham Lane, and that's just marked by the sort of purple circle to the southeast, so the bottom right of the red edge location plan. Slide, please. So this just summarises then the
main issues for consideration. Members will be aware of the extensive planning history associated with the site, and that includes a dismissed appeal, and those schemes relate to equivalent quantum of development to that that's currently proposed. In dismissing the appeal, however, the inspector has not disputed the acceptability of the location for new residential development. The site is located adjacent to Bromyard, the main built-up part of the town, and would provide an extension in a westerly direction away from development along Panniers Lane. So it would contribute towards housing within Bromyard as well as affordable provision. Please. So, as I set out, the site isn't subject to any special landscape designations. Nevertheless, there is some infant co-visibility with the public bank points, most notably on approach to Bromyard from the west. For these photos here, members will be familiar who visited the site yesterday, look north from Penguin Lane. So essentially showing the entirety of the site. So those at the top, we look north from west to east. So you can see that these are undulations within the site, slate grass, and then great field boundaries. Then the photos on the bottom show the eastern parcel of the site. So as members again will have noticed yesterday, the site is delineated internally by that majority of that vacancy on the bottom left photo, and then again the bottom right photo shows the properties along Panniers Lane, which form the eastern boundary of the residential site. Next slide, please. So this photo on the side shows essentially the entirety of the site again, but viewed from the northwestern corner of the site, and looks diagonally across the site in the southeasterly direction. So the forwards along the north side of the site to the left of the picture. Again, you can just about make out the development along Panniers Lane in the background, and that before the boundary which goes in. Each area, the context of the site with respect to boundaries and land and development beyond. When considering the previous conclusions made by the inspector and when having regard to comments made by the property's landscape officer, it's accepted that while there would be a visual change here, it is considered the landscape impact would not be harmful as such, but it would solicit any discernible policy tensions, and it would be incumbent on any forthcoming reserve matters application to deal with scale, appearance, layout and landscaping, have regard to the landscape character and location, and present an acceptable scheme in that regard. Next slide, please. So turning to consideration of the highways impact on development, the reserve matters of access is for consideration as part of this outline application. Members will be aware from the report that one previous reason for refusal related to an inability to demonstrate that the development on the site could provide for a new vehicular access taken to the A44 without any potential conflicts arising with the delivery of a suitable and safe access for the strategic housing site at Hardwick Factory North. The issues that were previously identified are listed within the report at paragraph 6.23. In light of this, the applicant has engaged with the local highway authority in seeking to address these identified issues, and as such, an entirely new and revised scheme is now for consideration. So, as indicated on the slide, a three-arm signalised junction is proposed, which will provide a single means of access to the site off the A44. It would include the widening of the carriageway using land within the site and highways land. Crucially, this has been designed to enable the provision of a fourth arm, which could serve the strategic site of Hardwick Bank to the north. Paragraph 6.25 of the report details how the implications to do with timing and delivery of the highway works would, in context, play out with respect to the strategic site of Hardwick Bank. It's important to note that it demonstrates that the development could be built independently of the Hardwick Bank site and would not produce its delivery. So on the next slide, if you have that please, that will show the alternative plan with respect to the provision of a fourth arm, serve Harbour Bank. So essentially the same, but with the provision of a fourth arm to serve the neighbouring site. Slide please. Again, so as set out comprehensively within the report, previously considered applications failed to demonstrate safe and convenient means of pedestrian access. Extensive reconsideration has been given to this by the applicant, and the proposal now incorporates a signalised junction as set out to enable pedestrians to make a complete crossing of the A44 to its northern side. This addresses concerns made by the inspector and remove the requirement for island refuge so that we would enable complete crossing from the site to the northern side of the A44. Additionally, the 30 mile per hour speed limit would be relocated to the west of the new junction. And it's worth pointing out that this would invariably change the nature of the road and the environment in this location. It would have an urbanising effect, and I think it's important to stress that the change that would accrue from the proposed works in this location. So just to illustrate that, as many people have noted yesterday on site, looking west along the A44, so the site to the left, so southern side of the A44, you can see up Harvard Lane to the right, currently where the footway wants to terminate, and beyond that, there is potentially just a grass verge. So in terms of the speed, there will be a division of that 2 metre footway from the junction and up along this stretch. I'll touch on that in a second. And then the next slide looks in the opposite direction. This looks easterly toward Brom Yard, from roughly the point in which access will be taken. So you can see the existing start at the 30 mile per hour limit, and that again, we said, would be extended further west beyond the proposed junction to the site. So the next slide. So just to provide some detail then, this plan shows the footway improvements serving the development along the A44. So a new 2 metre footway would be provided along the northern side of the A44 up to the junction with Upper Hardwick Lane, which we could see in the previous photo. So this again would be accommodated through increased width of the A44. And that's possible by virtue of the fact that this would be undertaken using land within the site, so within the applicant's control. So whilst it's acknowledged that there's an inability to increase the width of the road further to the east, so between the junction with Upper Hardwick Lane and Windsor Road, priority has been given to widening the existing footway to 2 metres, together with the provision of a grass verge, and that can be seen in green on the plan. So this would ensure a continuous 2 metre footway from the site entrance to the junction with vehicles for Paddy's Lane. And again, just to stress, taking into account the relocation of a 30 mile per hour speed limit and the proposed footway improvements, it's considered the provision in this location to provide a marked change to the existing environment and improving safety to provide a means of safe access for pedestrians to the site. Again, it must be stressed that the existing carriageway will not be reduced in width in any place to accommodate these improvements, and the local highway authority is satisfied that the footway provision can be accommodated on land within the highway extent. Tactile paving, we've got curb, we've got poles proposed at the corner radii of the A44 junction with Goodmanstone Road. This has been subject to a stage 1 road safety audit, which has not raised any issues with regards to the footway along the A44. Officers would stress that previously considered the field had a fundamentally different scheme for the footway along the A44. It was located along the southern side, and therefore the inspector's comments aren't relevant in considering this aspect. Next slide, please. So, as shown on the slide now, a second pedestrian access will be provided from southeast corner of the site. That's close to the junction of Penham Lane and Panniers Lanes. And a new footway will be provided along the extent of the western side of Panniers Lane. So this would provide an alternative route towards the town centre, as well as Queen Elizabeth High School, which is situated just to the east of the junction of Penton Lane and Panniers Lane. It would provide a crossing point which is aligned with pedestrian access to the school through the provision of a drop curb and tactile paving. Next slide, please. So this just looks north from adjacent to the vehicular access to the school. It shows the junction Penton Lane and Panniers Lane. The pedestrian access would be taken from the site at this point. Then the footway then continuing along the western side of Panniers Lane. So next slide, please. Yeah, so just to point out then in terms of the location of the crossing point to the school, this shows the point in which it would align with the existing pedestrian access. And then just to illustrate that, the next slide highlights the location of that. So only a short distance north of the pedestrian access to the site. And officers don't have any concerns with respect to design line encouraging pedestrians to cross Panniers Lane to access the school at any point further south. Next slide. Although concerns with respect to potential conflict between vehicles turning and pedestrians at the junctions are acknowledged, vehicle tracking has shown no worsening of large vehicle movements out of Penton Lane and onto Panniers Lane as a result of the development. Officers noted concern with respect to the distance to the site of services and facilities within Bromyard, as well as the grade and access and such. These matters are addressed within paragraph 6.37 to 6.38 of the report. In summary, they're not considered in the context of a safe and suitable pedestrian access be such factors that would genuinely discourage active travel or otherwise promote development which is unsustainable. So just to wrap up the highway element, members should note that the NPPF in paragraph 111 advises development should only be prevented or refused on highways ground if there would be an unacceptable impact on highway safety or the residual cumulative impact on the road network would be severe. Officers are now satisfied that this entirely revised scheme demonstrates a deliverable, safe and suitable vehicle and pedestrian connectivity to serve the site, whereby it would not have an adverse impact on the local highway network, nor would it prejudice the delivery of the site as identified in the development plan. The technical experts within the local highway authority offer no objection to the application and subject to conditions and the highway improvement works secured through section 278 agreement, the proposal is considered to be acceptable for private steps. Next slide. So moving on, the site is not considered to be at risk of flooding. Problems will be dealt with by way of connection to the main sewer. The surface water managed through a controlled discharge to the water course to the west of the site. Condition 8 would secure details of an integrated drainage scheme, and this would come forward as part of a reserved matters application of delivery layout. In terms of ecology, biodiversity, the council's ecologist is satisfied with the updated details that have been supplied, and that subject to suitably worded planning condition, the development would not result in any adverse impact on protected species and wider biodiversity. While there would be a loss of section of hedgerow principally to facilitate improvement works to 44, ecology have not raised objections to this in detail of wider landscaping and in terms of landscape use that would come forward again as part of any reserved map application. The applicant has applied for and received an allocation of phosphate credits from Heritage Council. The amount of credits to be purchased is commensurate with the level of impact which requires mitigation, and that's been calculated using the nutrient neutrality budget calculator for the river log. The figures have been reviewed by the ecology team, who have found them to be accurate. Natural England has responded and corroborates with the authorities' habitat regulations assessment, insofar that the proposed development would be made neutral by purchasing credits, and as such, there are no adverse impacts on the river-wide SAC. The purchase of the required credits is secured through a Section 106 agreement. With that in mind, officers also acknowledge that development can impact on existing services and facilities. Therefore, acknowledging the infrastructure requirements, members are referred to paragraph 6.76 which sets out the draft heads of terms and contributions, again, secured through section 6 agreement. So to wrap up, the application made an outline with all matters reserved for future consideration except for access. The site is considered to be locationally acceptable and is well contained by the existing field boundaries and by the A44 to the north and Pencombe Lane to the south. It would provide housing and affordable provision in a sustainable location. The scheme satisfactorily shows how the local highway network can absorb the traffic impact of the development without adversely affecting the safe and efficient flow of traffic on the network. And following extensive dialogue with the local highway authority, it is also now possible to demonstrate that safe and deliverable pedestrian connectivity can be delivered as part of the development, which would give genuine choice as regards to movement. There's no risk of flooding, with a detailed drainage strategy to be secured as part of any forthcoming reserve matter submission. And there are anticipated to be no adverse impact on protected species or biodiversity, with conditions ensuring ongoing management and enhancements. The development would be made neutral through securing phosphate credits, secured through a Section 106 agreement, as well as other contributions towards local infrastructure, including securing affordable provision. So therefore, subject to a well-considered reserve matters application or applications, which would deal with the scale, layout, appearance and landscaping of the theme, officers conclude that development accords with the policies of the development plan, and there are no material considerations which indicate that a decision should be made otherwise than for approval. It's therefore recommended that outline plan permission is granted, as set out within the committee report and update sheet, and subject to the commission.
Thank you, Mr. Jones, for that presentation. The application covers two parish boundaries, the Bromley and Winslow town boundary area and Avonlea Parish Council. So we'll have a speaker from each of the parish councils. And I first of all ask Mr. Lloyd to speak on behalf of Bromley and Winslow town council. You have 3 minutes.
Good morning, everyone. My name is John Lloyd. I'm a transport planning and engineering consultant, as you mentioned, commissioned by Bromyard and Winslow Town Council to represent them in respect to the development proposals. Contrary to the officer's recommendation, it's apparent that there remain deficiencies in the development proposals in respect of providing for suitable and safe pedestrian and cycle access and integration. The issues have been highlighted in detailed representations of the Town Council and objectors, including the detailed work of Professor Mark Whitehall. Despite the recent submission of further information, it's apparent that the issues have not been adequately addressed to provide safe pedestrian and cycle integration, and there are 3 apparent general issues. The first issue relates to the A44 and providing for safe pedestrian and cycle access. There are deficient footway and carriageway widths along the A44 in consideration of the character of the road and the level of traffic and type of vehicles that it needs to accommodate. The highway is not of a sufficient width to accommodate the necessary widening to achieve satisfactory footway and carriageway widths. Whilst this is recognised that the footway present along the northern side of the carriageway and the pedestrian integration can occur as part of the development proposals. However, the conditions are such that safe access cannot be achieved for the number of pedestrian movements associated with 120 residential dwellings. There does not appear to be proposals for cycle integration, and cyclists cannot be expected to cycle within the carriageway along the A44. The second issue relates to pedestrian access along Panniers Lane. In respect of the deliverability of a footway along Panniers Lane, it is evident that it is unlikely that a continuous 2-metre footway can be delivered along the western side of the carriageway. Significant questions and uncertainty remain regarding the deliverability of an adequate and safe pedestrian route along Panniers Lane. There is also a lot happening within the highway along this road, including access to and parking associated with the secondary school and parking associated with residential dwellings and agricultural vehicle movements. The third issue that I'd like to highlight relates to general accessibility. Due to the identified issues, the site is not considered to be accessible and future residents of the development would inevitably be car reliant. The topography of Bromyard also compounds these issues in respect of accessibility. As I mentioned, there do not appear to be any satisfactory proposals for cycle integration, which would be expected for developments of this scale. Overall, as I mentioned, it's apparent that safe and suitable access for the site is not currently provided for all users, and therefore the proposals do not accord with paragraph 110 of the MPPF. It's also considered that the issues identified constitute a significant highway safety issue and will present a residual impact, and therefore the proposals do not either accord with paragraph 111 of the MPPF. Yeah.
I now invite Mr. Churchill from Avonbury Parish Council to speak. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. First, I'd like to say it's a miracle that I'm here because we have not been consulted as Avonbury Council or from the Greenborough Town Council on this matter. So I am a miracle, say that. I'd like to point out in March 2019, we as Avonbury Council pointed out that there is no safe pedestrian access to this site. And it has not been addressed in the last 4 years. We have had 4 applications, the 5th application for the site, and it is still not being resolved. I would also like to point out that in 2015, when the core strategy was revised, that all new properties should be located or situated in Munderfield. It's the RA2 and RA3, the 2 points to restrict need for new developments in the open countryside. That is why the core strategy said all new housing must be situated in Munderfield, not on this site. Our main objectives are, and this was the 29th September 2021, then safety concerns due to inadequate and unsafe vehicle access, cyclists and pedestrian to the site. The existing road is unsuitable to accommodate a footpath. Also, there is no employment land to go with the development, making it unsustainable in the short and long term. The other thing which is most important is the unsuitable development with a lack of local infrastructure in place to cope with the demands of the increased populations. Therefore, we would not support this application. That's all I have to say, thank you.
Thank you. And now I'd like to invite Mr. Whitehorn to speak in objection to the application. You've got 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. So my job, I'm Mark Whitehorn, I'm the Emeritus Professor of Analytics at Dundee, which means I look for inching patterns in data, and there's no ching on here. Even though highways are supportive of this and have been for the last 4 times, it's refused on pedestrian access every time. Why? Well, it clearly has to be something that the developer can't fix, and that is the width of the A44 and the width of Panniers Lane, and it comes down to something as simple as in the A44 for a 50-metre stretch, there is 8.1 metres available, and that's it, can't go outside. They've allocated 2.5 metres for footway and verge, that leaves 5.6 metres for the carriageway. 2 of the largest lorries in the UK, when they pass, they occupy 5.7 metres. They do not fit on the carriageway. And if you go and measure this for yourselves, it's not difficult. The solution that the lorries adopt is they mount the curb, and you can see the marks of me doing that. There is a Mr. Sutcliffe, I believe, who's in the audience, who had family members struck by a lorry's wing mirror this year. It is dangerous. Panniers Lane got the same problem. It's too narrow. The solution they've adopted here is to reduce the footway to 1.5 metres for 50 metres of its length. It's supposed to be 2, and there's a reason for that. It's called safety. Near a school, it's supposed to be free. This is half that width. It is not acceptable. Cycle access has been dealt with multiple times. That simply isn't changed. The land ownership, I do not believe, is sorted. You only need to speak to the house owners who own the land that's going to become the footway to discover they have objected to this. They have said, this is our land. So it's not something. The final thing, I think, that would worry me about this application is you will all know Bromyard has been allocated 650 houses. The majority of those are going to go on Hardwick Bank, 500 dollars. I was surprised when Vistry, who control Hardwick Bank, put an application for only 250. The implication of that is that this site may become necessary to meet the total number. But Vistry has replied by email to a request for why have they done only 250, saying that during our discussions with officers, it was made clear to us that they did not support the application for the full 500. Had we not amended the application, officers would have recommended refusal or indeed refused under delegated power. Vistry remains fully committed to delivering 500. So I would argue to you that we do not need this 500 green site in order to meet our targets, which we're quite happy that they will be at 500. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And now I'd like to call on Mr. White, representing the applicants, speaking support the application.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. The site is identified in the draft local plan as a strategic housing option for Bromyard. The site is therefore in a sustainable location and can be sensitively designed to respect its landscape character and provide a new gateway entrance into Bromyard. Members are aware that the site has previously been before the committee. Since then, we've been working collaboratively with council officers, and the site will now deliver a series of highway improvements into the site and into the town of Bromyard. These highway benefits and sustainable travel solutions include a vehicular access enabling this site and the Hardwick Bank strategic allocation to come forward independently and without prejudice to either scheme. Widening of the A44, utilising land within the site to provide new pedestrian crossings and facilities. The relocation of the 30-mile-an-hour speed limit to the west of the access point on the A44, slowing the speed of traffic entering into Bromyard. Pedestrian and cycle-only access on Panniers Lane, including a new footway on its western side. These matters have all been formally assessed and passed within an independent Stage 1 road safety audit. The site will also deliver 40% affordable homes, totaling 48 dwellings, vast areas of green infrastructure, and a children's play area. The proposals will also secure improvements to local facilities and services, such as education facilities, healthcare services, such as Herefordshire Hospital, and also provide £167,000 towards a wide range of sporting activities and facilities within Bromyard. We fully endorse the officer's recommendation for approval, and in line with this, we respectfully invite you to grant permission for the scheme. Thank you.
Thank you. Public speakers take their places back in the public gap. Right. Councillor Davis and Councillor Chance are reward medals for the application, which extends across both members' boards. They will speak and have at the beginning of the meeting, the debate, and have the right to speak at the end of the meeting. Councillor Davis, please, you have 10 minutes.
Thank you. People wear high vis jackets, and we all know how we have to wear a jacket. This morning, we have spoken openly about why we do not want this particular, not necessarily the development, the access to it. I emphasise that, the access to it. I'm sure you're doing your new plans the full picture of where we are good to go. So I'll no need to go into facts and measurements, as the very complex speakers have already stated what they are. The Cloudland Green development has never been presented to the Town Council, even though they were invited on 3 separate occasions. However, a big request at private meeting, which was not accepted and not included as a main principles of transparency. Parish councils are, as you know, our strategy consultees at all planning applications. Admittedly, they have no power to review or reject. However, they can suggest amendments due to their local knowledge, as all council members live in the area. We know what works and what will not work. If the opinions at the parish council were given credence, it would save time and money with this application. They give a voice to the local community, it provides democratic legitimacy for decisions on developments as large or as small. This is the biggest proposed development Bromley has seen in over 10 years. However, we are not here to discuss the development in London, just the access to it on the A24 and the provision of safe access for pedestrians and cyclists, including Hamlet Zone. Herefordshire Local Plan for Strategy 2011-2031 mentions Private Bank, which is opposite this site, as a designated site recommended by the Bromyard Parish Council. The residents of Bromyard accept wholeheartedly new houses are needed, but not at the expense of possible life being risked due to unsafe access for the residents. This is why we are here today. This application does not show that there is safe access for pedestrians or cyclists, but it might even be considered in this application. I bring to your attention, members, National Planning Policy Framework 14.3.12, roads of travel, walking and cycling. Cycling facilities can be regarded as an essential component of the site access and any off-site highway improvements that may be necessary. Developers that do not add those conditions for cycling in their transport proposals should not be approved. See 437 of the local development plan. I cannot understand why this proposed development has come forward again after being refused on so many occasions, which is acknowledged by the town operative in his report. I have looked thoroughly at previous applications and I cannot see changes to the proposed original access pedestrian path, apart from the fact that the path is being moved from one side of the road to the other. It is not shown how the path where every is put is not so, as I've just said. But there is a means for new houses and welcome developers to unlock the town, in keeping with the Herefordshire core strategy. However, what is of vital importance is the safety of our residents. The access to this development does not show this, and I do not support this application. And of course, there are the ecological issues of the removal of the tree line and a large proportion of the Southern Height Road, which the applicant's own consultant states is of high value. It is my opinion, and is near the Town Council, that the application, given what I have said, should be refused on the following grounds. Policy BY1, development of Bromyard. Within Bromyard, new development proposals facilitate the genuine choice of modes of travel, including public transport, cycling, and walking as alternatives to private cars. Policy NT1, traffic management, highway safety and promotion of good travel. Road safety and prolonged promoting footways, cycleways, and the tier danger intermingling with other road traffic along this A road. The Highways Development Design Guide mentions cycling as well. Thank you for listening.
Councillor Challenge, on behalf of Very well. Thank you, James.
I think I'm not following what the council.
I don't want to see
The sites. Really, how I remember it. First of all, I'm sorry that I wasn't able to fit this year ago. I was trying to do that in the community, and I would like to thank finance. That's like the babies have said, as a country, we need more homes built. The question is getting the right home in the right place at the right price and with the right access. Questions here that we have to, that I would ask you to consider are particularly around access. And I have three concerns which I think have already been covered by other speakers here today. So the first one is around access and related to pedestrian access and the width. And I am concerned, as is Professor Whiteman, as he explained, with the question of the width. And to me, it's very concerning that in the report, what's been considered, there's a difference in the fundamentally. The officer's report says that there is supposed to be 2 HGVs passing that angle question at the same time. My concern is that these will frequently get situations where you have 2 HGVs passing each other and more than one pedestrian. It's ridiculous. And I think that it's really quite shocking that there's so little consideration being given to science because if we are to believe there are words around the situation that widening the wide variety of opportunities for access from the need to consider factoring in addition. And there's only one paragraph in that we expect it with no specification and we continue to review. That's really concerning, and it's especially concerning because our access is the access to the primary school. In the new development of 120 houses, there will definitely be children there going to the primary school. It should be a wonderful place to go, but I very much fear that there will be more parents who feel that they can't take the risk of going with their children because that isn't right. And along a path, recognising it's supposed to be, the speed limit will be extended so that the speed is supposedly be 30 miles an hour. I think realistically that is, something that we can't rely on. And I expect you to experience this today, the feeling of that road, including in the 30 mile an hour area, and the sense of the risk and danger of all of that. I have some minor concerns about exactly where that pedestrian access is because it seems to me that it is placed at the junction with the proposed new vehicle entrance in such a way as to make actually quite a long required pedestrian access along the A44. I would much prefer if there has to be a phone here, if there has to be a site, then at the very least the pedestrian access would absolutely minimise the amount of walking that has to be going along the A44, particularly in light of access. Is low, which has again been mentioned by previous speakers. I would be very happy that an issue that could be debated and potentially something that could be dealt with further on the fundamentally there's an issue here. It's indeed by secondary school should be too. And then fundamentally, I think there is a real problem around the reference to subsidy. I've got LCM 120 here, which is the government's guidance to local authorities on cycling. Now, the officer's report says it's only guidance. Effectively, they're doing it completely. I mean, I'll have a look at the wording in that paragraph, but the the officer's report says you don't need to pay any attention to this. But the guidance itself says, paragraph 14.3.12, cycling facilities should be regarded as an essential component of the site access for any new development. and any off-site highway improvements that may be necessary. Developments that achieving adequately make provision for cycling in their transport proposals should not be approved. That's really extremely clear. There's a number of other paragraphs in the preceding section around there which are essentially saying the same thing, and that power authorities can and should use their powers to ensure that cycling provision is provided. Now, in the adjourning officer report that we have before us, the only reference that is made to cycling is for potentially that a little bit of section 1 says might be used to upgrade the 2 possibly because they might be more cyclists. And there is something when you probably just came on to there's a whole recommendation 19 which is really about cycle parking in provision for cycle parking. So maybe there's expectation that people in these ones cycle space to sit. So there's an inherent consistency in all new developments that we need to be able to be safe. Clearly there's a recognition that if it's not safe for people on cycle, if there's going to be cycle parking, and that there is no provision for cycling safety to any of the access points or on any of the for me, that is a really fundamental flaw in the proposal. I recognise we have serious constraints. We've got a highway that is very, very narrow in places, and therefore, proposals for development have to recognise that. As others that we've seen pointed out, because there are other opportunities and places in Bonn where houses could be built with safer access, then the question is, why is that not prioritised? Rather than this, it's really very significant. Question marks remember about safety access. I think it's in the service.
Right, so now, beginning the debate, speakers. Councillor Bolton.
Thank you very much. Well, it was very informative. On a personal note, from that road, the A44, it's a major trunk road from the M5, which they're going through for Lancashire areas. And the vehicles we witnessed coming through, there were some very big trucks coming through there. And even as it is, it's quite a tricky road to get to. In a previous life, I was in charge of transport, various levels, up to 50 trucks at one stage, various sizes. And that road needs to be extended to a lot wider than it is to accommodate more traffic coming onto it. It is not safe, in my opinion. We were there yesterday, there were 2 artists coming by, and they didn't actually make the curve one way to the other, so the ones that get through. It was very, very tricky there. We were taking down the road and explain how the new access is going to be put in and how much wide it will be. It's not sufficient. It's a danger. All the safety aspects have been brought up by various people, and I can't see what's changed from the last time it was reviewed. Yes, it's a nice idea, but that road is going to be widened by at least 5 meters, in my opinion, to be able to accommodate anything near yourself. And that, as it stands, cannot be done. The Panmures Lane one was even worse. So when Councillor Torrey and myself arrived, we came past people in the school, and there was a 38-ton Arctic coming down that lane, turning right into Panmures Lane. We stopped. Got no choice. He flagged his lights, still fast as well, so thank you very much. And then turned down Panmures Lane. 38-ton Arctic going down there. And they wanted to, sorry, they didn't think we knew that road February, and wanting to push a little bit wider, 1.6. It doesn't stack up. Those are my views, and I don't think I can support this. Any speaking?
Yes, thank you very much, Ollie, for taking us around site yesterday. It was very informative. They have history of using Lincoln Lane and Panmures Lane. And being very I'm very familiar with the complex junction that top line region where the road comes up when it's on grades. The is only there are close proximity to the Winslow Road and then like a Hardwick Road. The introduction of another access point complicated. See how the revisions to the access have supported car movements to make that safer. But as has been said by many of the speakers today, there is no provision for cycling. And our core strategy, the National Plan and Policy Framework, both state the importance of new developments having access and provision for cycling. Neither of the proposed pedestrian routes are, in my mind, sufficiently fit to accommodate shared space for cyclists, or actually for equality issue, anyone with an ability scooter or a wheelchair, or possibly even pushchairs side by side around there. I think a lot of credence should be given to the fear of severance and fear of intimidation by large vehicles. It isn't just noise. We live in a rural area where we have extremely large farm equipment being moved along this road, combine harvesters, forage harvesters, that there's a sizable crossing over the central line reservation, and they would not be able to get past at this point. It's not. So for this reason, I find that we are unable to support the able to support on the grounds of NEC1 highway safety and covered and PY1 in terms of genuine choice of applicant level and the policy framework 106.D 110A 112 again lock of cycling provision is a concern. The Panniers Lane footpath at 1.5 metres wide is woefully insufficient outside the school. That can go through that and then more detail if you want.
Thomas.
I totally agree with the last two. I'm not without. I'm on the edge of it. Absolutely right. 2 lorries didn't come out. Even if you widen the road on the A44, full length of your site, you've still got the pinch point at the end where you've got a house right on the internet on the right hand side, which is very, very close to the road. You won't get. You might get a widen road farther back down towards length, but you will not be able to widen it as you come in to the actual town itself. And it is very less. Very, very less. And yet again, we're all bringing up transport as a reason that we did not support it. And we do so often. I cannot support it.
Councillor Baker, you have to start.
Thank you, Chairman. If we devil's advocate just for a moment, there's no doubt that this is an ideal site for housing. We've heard that there will be a suitable number of affordable housing units and a substantial Section 106 financial agreement. I was also encouraged to see that a matter of vehicular access to the site has actually been addressed this time, although it wasn't in the past. To make the development. However, they haven't addressed the many dangers the pedestrians, especially children, on site. The previous applications, as we've heard, were refused, one in June 2015, one in March 2018, I was a member of the committee on both of them. Now, I can't find any notes that I made about what's happened to them. So I might be challenged to say, well, maybe I wasn't on the committee on that day, but I certainly remember the application and will have read the officer's report. Since that time, as I said, efforts have been made to improve, but the serious danger, pedestrians, children playing on the site and running out into Penton Lane, or cycling to school or whatever, but there is no facilities for safety for those individuals. And so, with that in mind, it's unfortunate. I've got some sympathy for the officer. There's a lot of work that's gone into it.
I think if no one ever sees it, you'll be getting that. I'm going to start.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to also thank all the I've never been to Brom now before. I was really quite struck by the context in which is actually placed. I think you can see the site itself looks viable in terms of development, but it's the context that surrounds it that was before, and frankly, it's not fun to live. That is one of the worries that I have standing alone with before, in that trying to even create vehicle access out the vehicle door, being aside the threat to many pedestrians and cyclists, could be a problem in terms of even the traffic moving. I understand these will be governed by signals, I think, now rather than a roundabout. Both have refined and this site being developed. If we can just remind the committee what we're saying, the March 2018 committee, the negative impact of the development in terms of its inability to deliver safe and convenient pedestrian access to the site are not outweighed by the economic and social benefits that might be derived from the scheme. I mean, Councillor Baker has outlined the benefits, and I do believe they are there, and we're not looking at the actual full planning application today. I mean, haven't seen it physical, constituency state, haven't talked with other committee members about. Sustainable under SS1 particularly in terms of our clearly under paragraph 7 and that's the problem. This is not a brand new application. This has a history, and the question for us, has that history of refusal been overcome by what was on the table today and what we saw yesterday? The chairman has it.
I've yet to be convinced that we move me to be pedestrian access from one side of the road to the other makes any effect on safety. Which is appropriate to be. We have not. I mean, right, now speakers. Oh, Councillor.
Thank you. Yes, I too am alarmed by many aspects of this particular application, mainly, but mostly under the heading of highway safety and connectivity. I'm very familiar with the area, having had grandchildren who lived in Brimbury, went to primary school in Penton, and on to secondary school at the Brimley. Those three locations triangulate beside, so I know it very well. Mr. Chairman, I would like to propose that the committee decline the mandate.
Now, I looked to navigate for grounds for. Second. Right, I think, member Councillor Simon.
MT1, with regard to promoting active travel, particularly point 4, ensuring that developments are designed and laid out to achieve safe and that accommodation provision for all modes of transport, the needs of people with disabilities and provide safety is special in terms of transport, in terms of something. I think also in relation to national planning policy framework, paragraph and plan policies should provide for active roads and walking cycling networks, and in terms of considering developments, paragraph 110, sustainable transport modes to be taken up by safe and suitable access to the site to achieve for all users. And I know Ollie said about paragraph 111, development should only be prevented in the feasible highway grounds if it would be an unacceptable impact on highway safety. And I think we all fear it does have an unacceptable impact on highway safety, but particularly in relation to highway 12. Within this context, applications for development should give priority first to pedestrians and cycling movements. That's it. So I appreciate that this application can't be made to do improvements of site that is in the future condition created. That's why I consider and address the needs of people with disabilities and reduce mobility in relation to oriented transport. And at the moment, the footway widths proposed from families and on the A44 do not do that. And minimise the scope of conflict between pedestrians, cyclists and vehicles. And I think as we've heard from anyone just professing there is concern about that.
I don't need to make a note of the day, because it's something that I suggest we send there or other members of the committee. None. Officers, who wishes to not be on?
I think it's obviously making statements on the private things outside. I think it was just reminding members that the technical advice and the things that clear in the way that we sent out with the without them knowing things with the MC1 paragraph in the six, for the segment around 12, which is next page.
So I move now to local members and this meeting, today, thank you, ladies, and then thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm very sure to hear what the other say. It's supporting the council that I'm giving news. To the officers and keep carried it with my members that a lot of work has gone into it because that is also and so it's a really easy to but very much appreciate this opportunity given of these members and to what's next out.
Thank you. Now we've come to the board. We have a proposal in conference hearing. Still on the grounds of outline. Can I have those in favour of the please? members. So, yeah, I think we're very much for ask the those people. 10 minutes.